Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. Today, I'm Chamberlain Uso.
It's 6 days to Christmas. I'm sure you're already doing the countdown. Good morning and welcome to your daily dose of sunshine. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf.
Incidentally, a lot of people are already in Christmas mood. 6 days or 5 days. They're already going on. Not waiting for the main day.
Well,
to be extended one for them.
That includes yours truly.
Oh, okay. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take it.
All's well that ends well, I reckon.
It did.
But will it be the same thing for this electoral act that they're talking about at the moment?
I think that waits to be seen, Chamberlain. If we're to look at the debate that happened on the floor of the House of Representatives yesterday, then we can say that, it's going to be tough times for the Electoral Act. We do know that some of the reforms that they are pushing this time around, even though the one that was highlighted yesterday and some that scaled through was the passage of the budget limit. It's not budget limit. No, I'm looking for the money limit, spending limit. Yeah, that's the word. Spending limit for all of the actors, all the different offices. So if you're running for president, you can't spend more than 10 billion naira. If you're running for House of Reps, beg your pardon, there's president, the governors, senators, House of Reps members, State House of Assembly members. So all of the limits that were in the previous Electoral Act, or in the current Electoral Act, because this new one has not been passed, is still a bill, were increased significantly. However, we still know that there is no way to enforce or to check what exactly has now been approved. Then what really came up for debate yesterday was the debate as to whether or not people who induce delegates, because there have been talks as to how expensive it is for anyone to, scale through any position in the primaries. There are those who say that they are ousted. Usually it is delegate season. We're entering delegate season next year, Chamberlain, where all of the primaries will be conducted. And it would seem that that's where a lot of people, delegates, it's
famous delegates.
Yes, it has been alleged in the past, and I'm going to be using allegedly here because now that is the famous word that people have since learned on social media. They learn on social media, if you can say anything, just put allegedly.
Or else they get you. They'll just sue your life out.
So let me put it there. Allegedly, delegates get as much as $10,000, $5,000. They get all manners of monies from people who want to win their primary tickets, and it's inducement season. So the proposal was to try and criminalize it, that both the inducer and the inducee, should be prosecuted if such a matter is brought forward. And I think a jail term was spelled out. But no, the House of Reps members thought that was very dangerous grounds. They thought that, look, how is anyone going to prove against anyone that such a thing happened? And what if you have enemies? What if your enemies now start to say that you induced this person and then they get false witnesses to substantiate that against you in the court of law? Wouldn't that be harmful? Except that it was dangerous waters. So that particular amendment did not proceed. Well, we'll see. I guess that in this electoral amendment, they'll win some, they'll lose some. The question is, how far will they get with their reforms? Some of the important things we're looking to see is how they push for reforms that electronic transmission is now a substantial part of our Electoral Act.
The famous electronic transmission.
Yes, electronic transmission. That is something we've been saying all variations of it in the past, but some people want it clearly spelled out that these things are electronically transmitted. You don't rely on the physical paper. That is on the one hand. There's also the request, or will I say the proposal, that all court cases be done before anyone...
pre- and post-election cases.
Pre- and post-election cases be done before a winner is finally sworn into office, particularly at the presidential level. We'll wait and see whether those things will eventually scale through. And more importantly, whatever it is that they're able to eventually muzzle through in the National Assembly, we'll wait and see whether or not the president will append his signature. Because there are those who say that oftentimes we will see that in most cases, the Electoral Act, it might scale through in the National Assembly, but sometimes it's left too late before it gets to the desk of the president. Now, we haven't heard this president say anything concretely about his own intentions for electoral reforms. We haven't heard him, push it. You also saw the debate that happened when the new INEC chairman was to be appointed. A lot of people were lobbying that the president shouldn't be involved. They think that is one major reform that we should also be pushing in this time. I'm sure the president must have looked and said, well, it's not yet law. Is it my own time that people will deprive me of? But whatever the case is, I think a lot of Nigerians are still looking to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to have him make solid pronouncements with regards to what his own intentions are for Nigeria's electoral reform.
Well, I know he intends to win.
And
he doesn't intend to win.
That's not sufficient. That is clearly not sufficient.
Boy.
Because trust me, after he leaves office, whatever happens, it is going to be counted in his legacy. Today, people are talking about the many books of President Muhammadu Buhari, and a number of Nigerians have reacted to these books that, look, no matter how many you write, you cannot whitewash what his legacy was.
Yeah.
Because they feel it. They still, till today, we're still feeling the impact of a legacy President Buhari left in office. So, what will be the legacy of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, especially with the Electoral Act?
I hope they care about legacies, politicians, in this country, because actions speak louder than words. Because from the actions of these politicians, it really doesn't indicate that they do care about any such word or any such thing called or associated with that word legacy. Because if they did, you'll see them act differently in all ramifications. But about the electoral reforms, well, it's good to be optimistic to ensure that these things are done. And lawmakers, well, I guess they will expect, or maybe will expect to be seen to be doing something. But I don't think it's just enough for them to amend those laws and put a ceiling on how much can be spent. In the first instance, who is ensuring that is not violated?
Who is monitoring it, and who is... it was seem that they're just doing it so that it is there.
Because, I mean...
We've never seen anybody, following up.
And that appears to be half measures, because for several people followed the case in the States a few months ago, or a few weeks ago, where, I don't know how many people remember Pras Michael, that Fuji's rapper. He's sentenced to, I think, 14 years in jail for helping a scheme that donated millions to former President Obama's re-election campaign, 2012, as far back as that time. Now, the law's got him. But over here, once elections are done, everybody just moves on. The law forgets about those things. It shouldn't be the case. So if they're making these laws to put a ceiling, are they also talking about who donates money? Where is the money coming from? To ensure the integrity of the process, if that is what they're looking about. Maybe they think it will hurt them if they begin to say, if you donate any funds, any illegally acquired funds, you'll be in trouble. So maybe they think that, where do people get money to donate to us in the first place? If we make that law, I don't think the purse will be full. And then how you spend that money too, or what you spend the money on, because there are cases of people who say after they donate the money, these guys convert the money for their own personal use.
Oh, yeah,
in other climes, you
like
dare not. If it's for election campaign, it has to be for election campaign. So if you use it for anything other than election campaign, you will face the music, you face the laws. Is that the same thing they're doing here? They're only saying donate, don't donate more than this, that's all. So after donating, they can do whatever they want with it.
The new limit now for how much anyone can donate to a candidate is now 500 million naira. That's the maximum you can donate to a candidate at any point in time. So that is there as well. So that's scaled through in the House of Reps.
They need to do more than just talking about a limit. If you want the system to have that integrity, then you go the whole hog. If you say you're copying from other clients that do, then do the things right. Go the whole hog. Don't just take the one that suits you and then leave the other parts and say, no, we just need money in the kitty. We can do whatever we want to the money in the kitty. That's not the intent of the drafters in other climes. So, but here, it's turned upon its head so that they themselves can benefit. That's why I say, look, many of them do things to benefit themselves, not necessarily the system. Even this electoral law that they're mentioning, well, it's good to be optimistic, but I just see history repeating itself. Because these elections, because I mean, do you see people know how much of hopes they raised for a lot of Nigerians. Several people who had never voted before came out to vote at that time because they thought it will be electronically transmitted. Vote will count. There will be that integrity. Alas, what did they see? Glitch. Their hopes were dashed. They came up with all manner of language. They even refused to come on TV and speak about what went wrong. They didn't speak about that thing they never spoke for, is it not up to years or a long time. No word, nothing whatsoever. But today he's going to be an ambassador if the receiving country approves of it. So that's the country that we're in.
10 years later, there will be a book.
At the moment. Well, we'll go to break, but we will return and look at some of these matters that are making the rounds, so don't go away.
Thursday's plenary session in the House of Representatives commences with a twist, as the defections in Rivers State extend to federal lawmakers loyal to the governor. 3 from the People's Democratic Party and 1 from the Labour Party defect to the majority All Progressives Congress. The House resumes consideration of the medium-term expenditure framework, which was suspended the previous day, and approves all the recommendations. The House then resumes consideration of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Clause 89, Sub 3, seeking to criminalize inducement of delegates in a primary election, is rejected by the House.
Conduct empowerment programs, motorcycles, motor cars, education machines. Now, these items can be misconstrued. And therefore, this section, I move that we expunge this section completely because of mischief. It can be misconstrued.
It is your duty. You are acting within the confines of your duty to empower, to build road, to send people for education, to do human capacity building. Those are the product of representative function of a parliamentarian. So anybody coming to say that is seen as inducement, the question you ask the court will be, where does your responsibility and mandate stop as a representative of your people? Who should carry their needs and provide solution to them?
What if my enemy confesses or give evidence against me that I've induced him for money? This particular section, I think, should be expunged because a lot of ambiguity is surrounding this particular section. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Those in support that we expunge, you say aye. Aye. There's no need to ask the second leg of the question, but I'll just fulfill all righteousness. Those who are not in support say nay. They are not here. The ayes have it.
One of the major amendments to the Electoral Act is the increase in campaign financing and expenditure. Spending for presidential election increases from 5 to a maximum 10 billion naira. For the governorship election, from 1 billion to a maximum 3 billion naira. Senatorial election, from 100 million to 500 million naira. House of Representatives election, from 70 million to 250 million naira. State Assembly election, from 30 million to 100 million naira. The House also approved that an individual or entity cannot donate more than 500 million naira to a candidate. Meanwhile, the Green Chamber will host the Senate and the President for the presentation of the 2026 budget on Friday the 19th. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Professor Okey joins us now. He's the Executive Director, Development Specs Academy. Good morning and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, glad to be here after a while.
Just looking at those figures, that figure is way more than several businesses in this country, their turnover annually, as a matter of fact. But it just says a lot about what is going on in the political circle. But let's get your response, what you think of these amendments now that the House is
well, yes, forward. It exceeds the value of many businesses, but it's also very unrealistic. The money is too small. What you're thinking is big. It's a classic joke.
Too small.
Absolutely ridiculous. Unless you're not in Nigeria, unless you don't understand politics, unless you've not been involved in some of the activities. Now you're talking about election spending. Does it include what I will spend before getting the ticket? Well, perhaps I have to give the godfathers between 500 million and 1.5 billion. That's number one. Number two, are you talking about my campaign train? If I'm moving from, let's suppose it's governorship, I'm moving from one local government to another, right? I have about 25 to 30 vehicles. Think of fueling. Think of the allowances of the people. Think of what I'll pay the security agencies for a one-day event. And this campaign is going to last 3 months. So the amount mentioned for most of them might carry the campaign for probably a month. Seriously. And to think that it's people who have contested elections that enacted this law, it means we are sitting, resting and snoring on absolute political dishonesty.
But isn't that tantamount to looking at this in isolation? Because in terms of what is going on, what people are going through in this country. Because if you're talking about somebody going on with 25 cars, people can't even feed on a daily basis, isn't that going to be, what, just kind of justifying the, what's the word now, the kind of lifestyle? That's an anomaly, as a matter of fact.
It is supposed to be an anomaly. But you see, when those who are to make the laws, make laws that suit their shortcomings, you will not have a good society. Now you're talking about, people are suffering. That's you and I saying that. Some people are living at a level where whatever occurs to them is the right thing to do. The size of the convoy shows the extent of their, leverage, among other things. And don't forget that this convoy is not just for fun. You're also going to a place, a lot of members of the party will come out. You're going to make T-shirts for them. You're going to make face cap. How much would that be just for one local government? And you're going to hire buses at the local level apart from your convoy. And you're going to give money to party leaders, including ward chairmen. So this, frankly, it's ridiculous. Now, that's different from saying it's a good thing. That's the one point. And then there's been this limit, isn't it?
So we should say it's ridiculously good.
It won't work. It's a joke. It's like when you say that, I recall in I think 2000, the year 2000, my boss, the Minister of Transport, I think the official salary was 150,000 or thereabouts. Yeah.
Naira? 150,000
naira? No, it's a pound. Are you in the mood? Are you on the mood?
For who? A minister's salary?
I think that's what it was at that time. We can easily verify.
Okay, but it must have been a very long time.
2001, that's
not so long.
Yeah,
this
is just the other thing. What is a minister's salary
today?
Now, when you get that salary and you say that's what you're paying a minister,
we know
the same minister you're paying 150, right? How much do you spend on him in a month? Between 4 and 11 million, sometimes 20. So you see, when you have a system that makes untruth the basis for its reward system, you compel people to find how to survive. And that's what's going on.
You took it right out of my mouth, because the first statement you made in terms of it being too small and how we do not face reality in this country, I think it was going to dovetail into the question I was going to raise with regards to, I don't want to say mistake, but the challenges we have in confronting the truth, especially when you look at our minimum wage. 70,000 naira is where we're currently at, and then you have to ask the question: what is anybody?
And sorry to come in, the people you're paying the same. How much is the salary of a PAMSEC? Yes. The people you're paying all these funny figures are the ones running the nation, running the budget, running the economy. Let's suppose I work at EFCC. What is my salary? Let's assume my salary is 5 million a month.
And something like they can seize 100 billion.
And what do you call it? I have before me somebody, I'm the chief investigative officer, and he is being investigated for 11.3 billion. Right? In one instance, there are others. And you come in, he sits, he says, well, I'm here, a young man. I can understand your enthusiasm. All of us love this country. But let me give you a piece of advice. It doesn't prevent you from doing your job. How are you faring with your children's school fees? Do you have a house of your own? How old are you? Asks you questions that shreds you completely. And then says, well, he's only thinking that he's not opposing it. When I see people like you, I'm happy and sad at the same time, because it's people like you that this country needs. But you know your problem, sir. You don't know your country. Anyway, I'm here to investigate. What will you do? That's the reality that you call the federal. That's why at the public function I said, organizations like ICPC, EFCC, the cleaner must not earn a salary less than 2 million a month. Huh? I'm telling you.
Cleaner.
Because they can
let me give you what are you talking about? This is a cleaner, right? He has access to your office. Even your deputy doesn't have access to your office. Now, when you are that well paid and you're caught doing funny things with people who are under investigation, no mercy.
But that doesn't mean they still will not do things.
They will, but the consequences will come for... No. There's a level of insulation a system provides.
But can we really do that? Let's be very honest.
We can't, because we are pretending. Okay, when you say every issue comes around us. Now, the university teachers have been quarreling over pay rise for a very long time, isn't it? How much it is. The government is not performing. No, they are not earning 2 million. I agree with you. But see the issue. Three things on the table. Number one, the fault of the university system. Number two, the pretense that anything the university is asking for, the universities cannot be done in 30 minutes. The total bulk. If there's any national emergency now requiring 2 trillion, it will be done. But there's no money to pay those that produce the human capital, the raw material needed for building a nation. But where do I say is the fault of the universities? I am a professor. Assuming I go to University of Maiduguri from University of Port Harcourt to, to superintend the defense of maybe a PhD thesis, right? What do you suppose I get paid? Officially, I'm entitled to, I think, about 50,000, which must have been put in place when Adam was still in the garden, or which are carrying it out. So already in its self-presentation, university shows it is miserable. See how it affects your budget. Your vice chancellor, you put that amount. So your annual budget, maybe you're going to have 60 defenses, PhD only, for that year. Let's assume and pretend. What you're going to do will be 60 times how much? 50? Thank you. Now, if it's 1 million, that is 60 million. If it's 1.5 for supervision, you know what I mean. Now, when you present that kind of budgeting, when most of the cost items you ought to cost are handled under charity, please tell me where anybody will, out of generosity, say, only this 4 million for defense, let's make it 10. It doesn't happen that way. So the university's own perception of the value of its human capital is also a critical factor in the problem on the table. But the point I wanted to make originally is that there's money for anything that needs to be done. And so, going back to the question of the elections, you speak of dark money in the U.S., which there's no limit to the amount you can, donate, and you're under no obligation by law to disclose. But they'll come here to teach us democracy. 60 million people will vote for Maokwe. And 60 million, she got 42 million of the votes. You got 18 million of the votes. Now, they go to another place where you have about 200 people, you call it electoral college, and they decide you won the election, and you become the president. That's their democracy. So what are they bringing? We are kidding ourselves. And when you have laws like this, whether bills or laws, it shows that there's a resolution to retain fully as national philosophy. Pay people appropriately. That's the end of the matter. Don't compel people to be taking it from other sources. We know your salary, but we see the car you're driving. We see your children have to go to school. You facilitate each other. That's what happens in the service. You facilitate each other to survive. at the expense of the system. So integrity is permanently gone.
But if these monies that they spend for campaigns, if they were earned and then if they were legitimately earned, do you think we'll still be saying this money is too small?
Oh, yes. Except the system has integrity. If the system has integrity, now you're saying the money is small. You're contesting an election, and I've been told that the limit anybody can give you is, I think, 500 million, assuming you're for president. And I come and say, well, yeah, I have some money for you, you know, it's 3 billion. And you bring a paper and I sign 500 million. Will you be the one to go and disclose?
But shouldn't we also focus on the fact that if you look at all these monies, yeah, as we see the election campaign spending, from what was there initially and then the amendments from the presidential up until the councillorship. If you look at how these monies are spent, I know you referenced other claims. Over here, don't we all see that, no, but how they spend it? You bribe delegates. You buy gala or pure water for those who want to vote. You put money in their account.
T-shirt.
You go and do. So that is, isn't that ways not to spend that kind of money?
It is.
That was if they were properly done.
The point I'm making is realism. We are talking the ideal. It shouldn't be so. If you want to intervene in a system, understand what's happening and deal with it. If you keep saying you ought not to do this, they will chuckle and continue what they are doing. Now, coming to the... Of course, the delegates are bribed. There's no question about that. All kinds of costs.
Even electors on the election day.
And most candidates, for instance, if you're doing presidential election or even party chairmanship, nearly all your trips will be by private chartered flight. One way is how much? Let's assume it's 2 million, which is laughable depending on the plane. And you're going to make X number of such flights. So what I would have thought is, okay, back in so and so year, when this amount was, I think the presidency was it 5 billion before that got moved up? Yeah. This figure of 5 billion was put in place in 2000 and so. Now, the international value of that money at that time is so in the current value of the naira. So you find that what you're calling 5 billion then...
Yeah, now going to be 10 billion.
It's going to be... This is such
the amendment is 10 billion.
This will not last 3 days unless you're not running unless you're not running the presidential election. What do you think the big men who are coming out, somebody will come out for less than 5 million naira? Those who matter, the party leadership now. But coming to this now, if you find out the year that this 10 billion, 5 billion was fixed, what's the value of the naira? You may find out that this 5 billion is actually going close to 1 trillion now. You get the logic.
Yes, I get the logic.
So if you migrate with the value of the currency, time-determined value of the currency, you cannot, because what is this now? 10 billion is how much in dollars?
Well, so what I also hear, you know, from the conversation we've had so far is context. It would seem that the context is kind of missing because, you know, Chimlin was speaking of the ideal. You are also saying, look, the ideal is clearly lost. It's where we should be going. This is where we are. But this is where we are. And then also the context of, you know, what we're currently dealing with. The people who have been impoverished, systems that don't work. You know, you spoke about, you know, even if an EFCC official, I mean, you said an EFCC official, or you were saying that perhaps an EFCC official who should maybe earn 5 million will still be subject to, or could still be subject to inducement. And a lot of people will say, I get the reasoning, because here we are in a system where it is difficult for you to get mortgage. It is because on the salary of 5
even regular loan.
Yes, on the salary of 5 million naira, you should be able to get a good mortgage. Your children should be able to go to health insurance. Your children should be able to get good schools. I recall that on this program we've had guests who have made the point that we need to lobby government to reinvest in our educational system, because it was not so long ago when I and even yourself could go to a public-funded school. But that is no longer the case today. A lot of people, even in my own cadre, are not looking to send their children to public-funded schools anymore because there is no education really happening there. So these are all the things that have now put a strain on what it is that people are actually taking home. You know,
two observations.
Yeah.
The first one on the question of pay. People with specialized assignments need insulation from the corruption in the society. So if you catch any of them misbehaving, no mercy. That's why I say they need that kind of leverage. Secondly, on education, let's ask ourselves, when last did anybody from a private school come out as the best JAMB, NECO, or WAEC students? We're also not checking the indices. They're always from some funny schools and on merit. That's number one. Number two, the public school system before was always the best in terms of infrastructure. But you have private schools, superb infrastructure, to some degree better education, but by grit, others get into it. Government colleges is not coming into existence today.
And what federal government colleges?
Federal government colleges, far back when we were in secondary school, in primary school even before secondary. But you see, comments on education must be data and evidence driven. Check through the last 40 years. How many people from federal government colleges turned out to be the best graduating students in any department? Take that index. You know, then also take ratio of performance in exams and all of that. We did that in 2006. And further, we're recording how many? More than 68% failure rate in terms of when you're talking about 5 credits. Most of the time, the mistake people make is that when they think of government investment in education, they are talking about education infrastructure. Schools, desks, computerized it. You don't see the training or skill upgrade for teachers, which is where education is. A new computer cannot tell you how to spell your name. An air-conditioned classroom cannot. But a capacitated teacher. That's why you find that I think the last Executive Council meeting that Buhari held in his first tenure was to establish 6 model primary schools, secondary schools in the 6 geopolitical zones. Was there any mention of training model teachers? No. The entire 4.2 billion was on infrastructure.
I wonder why they even established that in the first place, because the federal government colleges are badly run.
They're in such a terrible state that all you needed to do was take the 4.2 billion, divide it.
Those, but
you will have 100 and something model schools. But that's not. So we must also bear in mind that we have an elite and leadership class that is focused on procurement.
I mean, speaking about procurement, it was last year that INEC published that they had a budget of 355 billion naira to conduct the 2023 general elections, even though they said they received 313.4 billion. So every election cycle, we keep increasing the threshold on how much we spend on elections. And every general elections, you hear the verdict from Nigerians that this, whatever the INEC did, was never a representation of what they wanted.
But you see, my issue with that is that who are these Nigerians talking? Is it INEC they give money to vote to subvert elections? We carry out and engage in the very wrong things, benefit from it, and expect INEC to be some kind of angel. INEC business is to supervise election behavior. Now you have a system, you have a population, a demographic that funds everything that will subvert that process. And INEC is isolated. If, for instance, ballot boxes are, and I'm not here to defend INEC in any way. The last election really gave it a matter. I'm not sure how it will lead down. But look at it. I'm an INEC official. My business is here. And then they snatch the ballot box and you're blaming me. I'm not in charge of security. I've been a returning officer in an election. That was the option A4. How did it work out? I was on Lagos Island. That was 89 or thereabouts. I think Babangida. So you come in, all of you stand out. You come out, count everybody. So the public is seeing the counting. All the voters. After the counting, we now came in. Of course, you have to write the result. Now, those people outside are not only the party reps, and there were 2. They have paid off the party rep for NRC. So it's for me to sign the document they brought. I said, it's not going to happen. I was to be lynched before the police came. Now, so the process At that point, if I agreed, then I would be subverting the election, but not on the instruction of INEC.
But the thing is that the reason why many people insist that they will blame INEC for the most part, whether they're in charge of security or not, is because in this same country, we know that before you open a bank account, they'll ask you for an arm and a leg in terms of the documents you need to provide. You provide almost everything that you ever thought that you ever have.
Including your great-grandfather.
You will provide all those documents. You must bring it. Even if, I mean, there are several departments, several areas that if you want to do anything, you could provide all kinds of documents. But when it comes to elections, they never apply simple
the same
things.
rigor.
We've got the NIN, you never use it. You have everybody has ATM cards. You can transact and send money right now. You get it almost immediately. Very easily done. Technology has moved that fast. But when it comes to election results, because these politicians wanted to benefit themselves, you see INEC lagging behind in those areas.
Yeah.
So, ballot snatching is history.
That is subversion of a process that could have been or should be transparent. To that extent, for instance, you're referring to IREV and Co. There is no excuse, as far as I'm concerned, for what happened. So I don't see how INEC can defend itself about what happened in the last election. We need to place that on the table.
We've got some other items to focus on, but we need to go to break. We will return in a moment. Don't go away.
Welcome back. You're still watching Sunrise Daily. You know, yesterday I went for a comedy show, and there's still parts of it that come to me from time to time. I mean, I already told you I'm already in the Christmas spirit, and the major comedian, the major act of the night was saying there's so many things that have happened this year that the question for this year will be what did not happen. What did not happen? And that stuck with me because the things that we never thought we would see, you know, we've seen. Did you see the fights in the air, around the airports, the planes? You didn't see any of that. You didn't see the oh dear Lord, who was trembling? It was really on the ground.
Remember him in our prayer.
Oh well, I'm sure the men who
turned out that it was good for me.
Perhaps, you know. But one of the things I know has also brought a bit of controversy. A lot of Nigerians are not looking for... We want to enjoy our Christmas in peace, but we're also having palpitations as to what exactly the new year will bring, especially when you look at some of the things that have happened this year. We have tax right on top of it, which is supposed to start in the new year. The tinted glass permit is also was supposed to start enforcement as well in the new year. We've seen the dates shifted several times. Initially, the police had even started enforcement in some states. And, you know, very interestingly, the commissioners of police in those states were the ones leading the enforcement. Now we see a back and forth between the Nigerian Bar Association and the police authorities. Police authorities say, we're going to go ahead. Nigerian Bar Association say, look, there is a court order restricting you. You are supposed to be enforcing the law. And in any case, they believe that what the police is doing is not about security, that this is a scam. I don't know if you use a vehicle that has got a tinted permit, I beg your pardon, a tint on it, and whether or not you have a permit. But where exactly would you...
Factory or not.
Exactly. You know, interestingly, I just dug up one of the tinted permits I got back in the days, in 2013. So this is not the first time we're seeing this police drive to secure us by letting us get tinted permits. Where do you stand in the middle of this?
My first entry on the matter is that it is very likely driven by the desire to collect money. It's a revenue determined thing. Yes, you'll argue, you know, when the glasses are not tinted, you see there are criminals inside.
You can immediately see them.
This is such a joke because if I'm doing 120, you can't see me. You can't see what I'm... All this whole talk about tinted glasses are in places where you come to a checkpoint and you're stopped. Therefore, you can be asked to wind down. It is unnecessary. That's number one. Number two, I have vehicles with the glasses are tint, have strong tint. So with this, I say, look, this is a nuisance. I might as well go and get it. As I speak, I haven't. Do you know why? It's only there. If you go passport, phone number, once you type in your name, it comes out. It doesn't come out.
For this tinted one, right?
Yes, and many other people have that problem. So they said, okay, maybe there's a mismatch. I went to NIMSI. That's what do you call it? The Identity Management
Commission. Yeah.
Yes. Did it all over again. Finished. Went back. It still didn't come out. Meanwhile, that's the single number you tap to get a new passport. So I went back to NIMSI again to them. I said, look at it. He said, okay, when you came, he showed me the first verification. That you see your name, see everything. We just said, maybe it's a glitch. Let's repeat it. So now, supposing I'm going on the road, maybe I'm traveling to Nasarawa or Jos or to Lokoja, and I'm stopped at the checkpoint, and I'm traveling by road and I have no permit. Is it the story they will listen to? Because the people there, they know two options, two very brilliant options. Number one is to detain you and take you to the station, for which there's no facility. So the better option is to just ask you what you pay if you want to continue on the flight, on the route, and that's what's going to be happening. But the primary issue is, what does the Nigerian state and people lose if tinted glasses are not charged or enforced? Because in the situations here, you will need to confirm whether it's where the vehicle is stationary. I don't see the logic for it. Then it will come into really billions at the end of the day. That's what I see happening. The argument about security, please, we're not children.
To the extent that they want to even violate the court order saying...
A court order is a court order. A court of competent jurisdiction. The disconnect between executing arms of government and the directive institution of state that is the primary locus of what is legally right and wrong should not exist. When a court speaks, debates end.
And that's for things that you call indirect tax. Now, direct tax is also now is already given a number of businesses and Nigerians palpitations. The federal government has tried to say, look, if you earn below a certain threshold, you'll be tax-free. And small businesses are exempt, etc., etc. But it does appear that has not...
People are not buying it.
Has not exactly
people
calmed people's
we are not
anxieties.
very tax compliant as a people. That's fact number one. Because we can't connect taxation with government service delivery. But more critically, and that's where I have real concern, is that this tax for this new regime took off with a frightening controversy. It was made public, I think within a week or so, when the president was out, at a meeting presided over by the vice president, the northern governors came out publicly against.
No. They had come out first.
First, yes, and then after that it still came out, which was very bad optics for the government. It's the same government.
Yeah.
Now, after that, you come into the details, a lot of mobilization. I remember the Minister of Information had to go to several parts of the country to explain that, look, this is not what it is. I recall in one instance, one day I got up and said, look, if we had understood this thing, some of us would not have had any issue with it. But the more troubling or frightening controversy on the table, I say, is a claim that what you have as law is not what the House passed as law.
What was gazetted, yeah.
What is gazetted is not what we agreed upon. If that is true, then the whole idea of contemplating anything in January must not fly.
Do you think it was deliberate, though? You think, because there have been those who have been pushing before now, this needs to be suspended. They don't want it to start in January. Do you think that because how often is it that we hear this sort of controversy, that what was passed wasn't, we hear it with the budget?
What was published or gazetted?
Yes.
Well, two options are possible. In the press, in the media, we speak of printer's devil. You know what you wrote, but somehow there was a mistake.
A whole clause. Entire clauses are added to...
So, this new devil that could utter a complete clause.
This is a tax devil.
No, was he a contemporary Gen-Z devil? Because we knew, or we thought we knew the technological capacities of the devil. So maybe it's a reverse standard version of the devil that can generate a legal document insert it in the place deemed appropriate for it. If this is what it is, then that document, the National Assembly should come out and say, this document does not exist.
Yeah, I mean, if they can look at the key part of it, the first part, which was not gazetted, says, I think that's section 64, the tax authority shall have the power to investigate or cause an investigation to be conducted to ascertain any violation of any tax law, whether or not such violation has been reported to the relevant tax authority. But the one that is said to have been gazetted is, the tax authority shall have the power to investigate or cause an investigation to be conducted to ascertain any violation of any tax law, whether or not such violation has been reported to the relevant tax authority, and shall also have the power to arrest any person suspected of committing such violations through relevant law enforcement agencies. So it doesn't look like a printer's devil.
No.
Not
of course we are joking. What printer's devil?
Maybe this is the intendment of these people who are coming up with this in the first instance.
This is deliberate. But when you say they will arrest, where will they keep the people when arrested? They are not part of the police.
Are they a new EFCC?
Is that a new... Because EFCC has its powers specifically spelled out. So this entire confusion needs to be avoided. But the essential point I'm making that if the National Assembly, the two houses are saying that this is not the law we enacted, they should take a vote. It's the National Assembly. This document does not exist because it's not what we passed. That's when you know it's a legislature. But to be mumbling privately as we're doing now, it won't take us anywhere. If that's not, this is not the document, this document we passed, could we please, we believe it was a printing error. Let's have the correct copy, please.
Should we be hearing something from the executive arm of government by now? Because it's been 2 days since this controversy was raised on the floor of the House of Representatives. And one would think that by now there should be some explanation going on, given the fact that this policy is supposed to take effect from the 1st of January next year.
I agree, there should be. That's the right thing to do. But is it true also that the executive arm often does not give explanation when it needs to? And it's not about this government. Has it been part of our history politically in the last 25 years? Yes. Ordinarily, a response would have come within 24 hours at the most. It hasn't come. Let us assume they are investigating the circumstances that led to this terrible development. I'll give benefit of the doubt in that regard. In which case they will then come out and say, yes, what the National Assembly has said is true. We are looking into the matter, but it's important we go back to the original document because that's the job of that arm of government. Something that gives you credibility, buys you time. You say you're investigating it. You may then follow the established tradition of saying you're investigating the matter and nobody hears anything again.
And that's basically what we've seen in so many instances.
But this must not be
Give
allowed.
me an instance of something that is still being investigated. Who gave the order for the withdrawal of troops the night that 25 girls...
before.
Exactly. 1 hour before 25 girls were taken from a secondary school in Kebbi. The military came out to say, oh, we've taken note of this, we're investigating. This is December. Well, going into 26. It's unclear when the outcome of the investigation will
Let's not rush them, you know.
What about, you remember when bad petrol was imported into this country?
Yes.
And they said they were investigating.
Up till now. Billions.
Yeah. Up till now, they're still investigating.
So, and that takes us back to the question of leadership. When our focus is the same, we stand in a position to subvert truth. And it says a lot about the quality of leadership. Those who should cry out are not doing so.
Always a pleasure to have you on, Professor Okey, Executive Director.
Don't tell me we're done.
Development Specs Academy.
We'll investigate that.
Yeah, we'll look at that and then we'll gazette with findings so that we'll send you a copy at the end of the day.
No, we send up a committee to review the white paper.
Story of our lives. Well, that is the show today. What a week it's been as well. We do thank you all for watching as always. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Usol. Goodbye.
Well, I hope you have nothing to investigate this Christmas. If you're investigating anything, it should be rice and chicken. I sincerely wish you the very best. Thank you for watching. I'm Maupe Ukunyusi.